Well, actually, this is as real as it gets.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
You're listening to UCW Radio.
In your face.
Give it to me, baby.
All right, welcome to the UCW Radio Show. As you guys know, we've been doing this for some time. We've had some great guests, some awesome guests on the show, motivational, inspirational, and they do so many great things. Today is no different. This show is no different, and we have two special guests. We had him on before, and this was a while ago, and then he avoided me, dodged, weave. He didn't want to come back on, but now he's here, and I had him bring his wife. So join me in welcoming Tom and Dawn Terwilliger to the show. How you guys doing?
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Dawn. It's good to be here. And yes, I've been dodging you because you're one of those guys that asks the tough freaking questions. I remember it was like, Tom, how old are you? I'm like, I'm never coming on this guy's show again. Ever.
Yeah, you see, well, I think that's John Hansen's fault because he tries to be, Mr. Youth. So, but anyway, so you've been on the show. We talked about your bodybuilding career. We talked about what you did in the past. You have things going on now, but if you can do me a favor, just give a brief synopsis on who you are and what you've done for the people that are viewing and listening that really don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't know, but maybe they don't know. Maybe they were sleeping on the rock. I don't know, in a cave. Things happen, right? Maybe they're on Long Island causing problems.
That's right. If you're in trouble, well, actually, if you've been in trouble on Long Island or in New York, you definitely know who I am. But shy of that, it probably does require some explanation. Well, I will say this. Let me preface everything that I've done before. Things only really started to happen in my life after I met Dawn. After I met my wife.
I guess you could say there was a pre-Dawn and a post-Dawn life.
That's right.
Like
That's
a movie.
Right.
All right, I get the prequel and the post-quel thing. All right.
Sunrise, sunset. I met her. The dawn, you might say, and then the next day was something even brighter and better.
Right.
Prior to that, though, I guess it goes back to a long history with being an outlaw, running with an outlaw bike club, being kind of really going down the wrong path, you might say. And a lot of that has to do with some of the things that we all wrestle with these fears, these doubts, these uncertainties, this feeling of being unworthy. And, we all have those to one degree or another. Some, we've created as a result of our past, our history, our experiences. Others are just natural tendencies of human beings to doubt themselves to a degree. Right. And it's really not a natural thing to do, but it's something that it's a societal in many respects. It's almost inbred into us. So for me, that idea that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't normal, I wasn't like everyone else, manifested into this becoming an outlaw biker, you might say, and riding with the clubs and stuff in New York. But ultimately, finding my way out of that and really kind of turning it around. And it all begins with a mindset and a decision. So for me, the decision was, hey, this is not really who I am. This is not the direction I should be going. This is not even the life that I anticipated that it was. I thought the whole outlaw bike club was really about just camaraderie and brotherhood and just kind of connecting, you know what I mean?
And that's what you were hoping it would be.
And that's really what I was looking for, and that's what I was anticipating. Yeah. But it really wasn't about that. It was there's a part of that, certainly, and there's a supportive brotherhood there, no question about it. But more than anything else, it's about, it's more or less organized crime, and it was not something that I wanted to be part of. So making the decision, like for anyone, if you're in a bad relationship, if your finances are suffering, if your body is really going to hell, at some point you have to recognize this is not who I am. Mm-hmm. I deserve better. Mm-hmm. And you have to make a decision about getting rid of that and moving towards something else. And that's ultimately what I did. And that led to the bodybuilding career. Because getting back into the gym was really, because, you live in that lifestyle. You're drinking, you're doing drugs, you're doing
a lot of things.
You're getting your bike out. I had road rash all over my body. I have broken bones and been stabbed a couple of times. And it's just like, I had to start rebuilding my body. I didn't really even anticipate that as a result of rebuilding the body, that the mind would begin to rebuild as well.
Sure.
That the ambitions, the beliefs, I started to believe in myself. I started to see I could do more. I was very fortunate to start training in a very good, very supportive environment, Future Man Gym on Long Island, where there was some great champion bodybuilders, but also really, that's where I found the support, the camaraderie, and the brotherhood that I'd been seeking.
Right.
And that led to winning several bodybuilding competitions, including the Mr. America, competing on stage with some of the best bodybuilders in the 80s and 90s, which I believe is the golden era, in the Mr. Olympia competition twice.
Back then, that was it. Yeah. You know, I mean, you were training, if you were competing and training back then, this is when you met everyone. This is when you met people that, back then, because bodybuilding, if you were a big name in bodybuilding, you were also broke. So, you were around, you're around other people, so you were like everyone else. But nowadays,
it's so funny. It's so funny you mention that, because I literally just completed a program that I've created called the 30-day Growth Acceleration Program. Right. And I go in, and it's really one of the first times I really go into that part of the story, which is, hey, I was on top of the world. I just won the Mr. America competition. I was getting magazine covers. I was getting all sorts of stuff. I'd even just started a television show, but I was flat broke. I was living in this little dingy old studio apartment with nothing. It was like, you can be on top of the world in the bodybuilding community and still have nothing other than a title.
Back then, but now it's different because you have all these sponsorships. I mean, back then you didn't have a lot of stuff. I mean, you had a few supplements. You had Weeder, of course, and you had some animal packs and all that stuff. You didn't have the stuff you have now. I remember I met an old-time bodybuilder when I started, and he said, you got to have this yeast stuff because it's like protein. It has more protein than that. I said, really? He says, yeah, don't waste your money on the protein powder. Get that. I got this. I mixed it all up. I drank it. I was puking for a little bit. That was nasty. The brewer's yeast. The brewer's yeast. Oh, disgusting.
If you had any sense at all, you threw a banana and some peanut butter in there. Otherwise,
I didn't have any sense. I just threw it in there because I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. The guy was big. I said, you know what? That never happened. Yeah, that was a bad deal for me. Bad deal.
I think back then, a lot of guys, because I remember one of the first times I trained at Future Man Gym when I really kind of got started again. Someone had turned me on to niacin. They said, man, hey, you got to do 10,000 milligrams of niacin. You got to do it just before the workout, right? So within about 10 minutes, I'm like, what the hell? I stripped off my clothes, jumped into the shower, and I'm yelling, I'm screaming, I'm pissed at this guy. If you've never had a niacin reaction,
I have.
It is like the worst sunburn you've ever had in your life. Guys used to do those practical jokes on people, man.
No, I took that one time, and I bought it. I mean, I didn't know what it was. I bought it. Someone told me about it. I bought it. I took it, went to work. All of a sudden, I'm sitting down, and my sleeve's getting tight. My button popped off. I'm like, well, I'm turning into the Hulk. And I went to the nurse right away. And they said, this is nice, and all the blood's coming to the surface.
The vasodilator.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
they banned that. They banned that version. They don't.
That powerful stuff, along with some of these other things that guys were using. It was a lot of it. It's like they said no. But I think a lot back then. Again, part of that brotherhood, that camaraderie, was also that indoctrination. It was just like you had to go through a hazing period a little bit in the gym. You met some big new guy. Like even Arnold talked about it in Pumping Iron. The guy came to me, he said, he's got a great body. I just need to learn how to pose. The guy strips off and he's like, he's got nothing. He's got no body. He's like, he's fooling himself. So Arnold has him screaming on stage when he's posing. That was the kind of thing that we had to get used to. And it was an indoctrination. And if you could pass that, then you had a shot at maybe doing something.
If you could get through the humiliation and realize, these guys are just pulling your chain. They don't really mean anything truly personal.
That's right.
Then you can get through anything.
The worst thing is when you got someone they're ready to compete, they're getting prepared, and you have that one a-hole that says your calves look kind of small. They're off the deep end. Forget about it.
It was interesting because it was, and for all of us, including myself, initially and early on, it's a very fragile state because a lot of the confidence is built on what our physique looks like, how much work we put into it, did we prepare? And one little comment like, you look great, But I guess did you have a calf? Did you have an injury or something that kept your calves from? I mean, what happened? You know, it was like, ugh, and it would get you into your head, which was a great lesson for me. And I know Dawn has experienced this as well. That later on, understanding how that prefrontal cortex can light up, and that little critic inside us can just derail us from achieving whatever we want, based on some little insecurity. And so knowing how to deal with that.
People don't realize that, in bodybuilding, bodybuilders are inherently insecure about themselves. And you say one thing and forget it. Somebody's going to the loony bin, okay? which I kind of understood, but I didn't want to understand that because, to me, that's, I don't know. You're that deep into something. If you love it, then nothing should bother you.
Absolutely. And you have to learn how to become that resilient, you might say. And resilience is the key to almost any real success, because we're going to run into those challenges. We're going to run into those doubts, those uncertainties, because it's not just bodybuilders. It's inherent in all of us. But the bodybuilding state is very fragile. It's a very thin, layer of ice for the most part.
But as Tom says, it really runs into anything. I mean, you from Wall Street to any boardroom to, teacher to doctor, you've got those competitive states. And, when somebody that feels that's just a little bit ahead of you and you're coming up on them, that they want to take you down.
Yeah,
they want to, and they're going to do everything in their power and every mental game they can. And so if your calves are weak, or you might not know about this pathway or how to treat this patient or the right move in the market. It really is in any competitive nature. And honestly, as much as it can tear you down at that moment, it's what makes you better.
Yeah.
If you can rise above it, it's those moments that you remember, like, that's never going to happen to me again. You become better.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like now in today's society, you have to be so careful what you say. You don't want to offend this one or that one. God forbid you say this kid's going to go suicidal, and it's like, I don't get it. When we were kids, you got tough, you went to school, you dealt with stuff. You had a couple of bullies, and if things happened, sometimes things got out of control, but you had a big brother or something, someone got involved, something happened. Okay, then after that, you got into a fight, then all of a sudden you were friends.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And then that's what happened. Now,
I wish that happened with girls as it did with guys, because that was never the case. There was always cat scratch fever with girls.
Yeah.
There was no coming back in a friendship.
Well, I wouldn't want to be on your bad side. I don't know.
No. So moving along with that story, fast forward, winning the Mr. America competition, finally realizing, hey, you know what? There's no immediate reward in winning the Mr. America, in turning pro. There were few and far. The contracts were few and far between. The sponsors were few and far between. So I decided, hey, I have no business background. I have no business being in business. But I decided the best route for me would be to open gyms. I mean, a lot of bodybuilders go in that direction. And for me, it was like, hey, I got to find a way to support this habit of mine, this bodybuilding career, and still at the same time make money. And I also had this I always had a desire to serve others, to help others. I think that was instilled in me by my parents, but also the first time, I think I was early bodybuilder. I won my first competition, and some kid came up and he was like, "Oh my, can I have your autograph?" And it was just I could see how he lit up when I took the time to encourage him to sign the autograph and to say, "Hey kid, you look like you've got real good potential. Keep your mind strong." And it was like, wow, how that made me feel intrinsically was like, that's really the reward I want. Right. So opening a gym and being able to coach people, mentor, have a facility where people could pursue their dreams was really like, and still make a living at the same time while I'm pursuing my dream, was like something that was a godsend. And so that's what I did for several years. So then moved to Colorado and met this lovely lady, and then she swept me right off my feet.
Well, I want to hear about the meeting of the minds here, because you left New York. And you left and you were like, I'm done. I'm going to go and deal with snow and cores, and this is where you were going. And maybe mind for gold a little bit. I don't know but you get to Colorado. How do you guys meet?
Well, actually, it was interesting.
That's a great story. At the time, I was basically second year into college at CU Boulder, and working for a gym at the time. I've always been a competitive athlete. in my own right. I didn't get to superstar status.
No one could be like Mr. TT, okay? He's like up echelon. We're just little minions. I know. But I want to hear your story, Dawn, because you are important, just so you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, so competitive in my own right, whether that would be athletics to education. I really wanted to just a sponge in everything I did, and realized, I think at an early age, the game of life, and that you've got to play it to win it. Yeah. You could try to ignore it all you want, but it's not going to get you what you want ultimately. Yeah. So that was always a firm believer of that. And when we had met, I was working for a small gym at the time, and as much as I begged and pleaded to work the booth at the Mr. Colorado contest, which I'm sure I didn't have to beg, anybody would say, "Oh, this girl wants to do it. Let's give her the job." And it truly was the night that we met. Really, eyes met across the room. It was an enchanted evening, and it really went down that way. As soon as our eyes met, there was something magic,
so there's like this idea, this concept that there's a soulmate out there for all of us. And I tend to believe that's true. And it may be more than one for many. Right. But when our eyes met across the room, it was like something happened. The spark happened almost immediately. Mm-hmm. And we wound up together. We've been together for over 27 years now. Wow. And I was there. I hadn't planned necessarily.
27 years. You look like you're 27 years old, Dawn. 27 years.
I know, right?
Thank you.
Oh, man.
I don't even like doing these podcasts anymore because I look at it, I'm like, damn, you can really see those 14 years, man. But I was doing a television show.
You look good, Tom. You look good.
You look good, kiddo.
Thank you.
Come on, look at this mug.
You're fine. Don't worry, buddy. Don't worry.
Yeah, I got a couple of years of kicking yet. So I was in Colorado as a result of doing the, I don't know if you remember, if you're a bodybuilding fan, you'll remember a television show called Muscle Sport USA. It was on Madison Square Garden Network in New York for years. Then Fox Sports picked it up, and we ran for another 16 years or so. And when I was in New York, we were doing that, and we were filming in New York. We would travel all over the country filming, and we would do the editing with a very dear friend of mine who's passed away since, Steve Stone, great bodybuilder himself, great guy, great mentor, great coach. But then when I decided to move to Colorado, as a result of us going there with the TV show to cover the Mr. Colorado Championship. Okay. And that's when Dawn's working the booth at, what was it, Flex Gym or something?
Yeah, it's a Flex Gym here in, off of Colfax in Colorado. Anybody who knows about it, that's kind of like a staple of Colorado bodybuilding.
Yeah. So it was really, I had told him, I said, after I discovered Colorado and met Dawn, that I'm going to sell my gyms. I'm moving to Colorado. I absolutely love it out there. I fell in love.
2 months.
Within 2 months, and it was a big risk. It was a big.
Whoa, you had the magic touch. You had like love potion number 9, Dawn.
Oh, okay. It was a big risk. And I've never done that before. I've never gone head over heels and just like, hey, you know what? I'm going to change my whole life as a result of some one person.
Well, that's a big leap. That's a leap of faith. Well, you are the leap coach, so you're leaping. I get it. I got it.
And the leap. That's what I teach. The leap of faith. The leap process. So for me, I had to go through that.
Sometimes that's the only form of transportation. That leap of faith to get to where you want to get to.
Absolutely. Yes. We can only. We're trying to bottle that. We're trying to find a way. Technology's still not. We're still ahead of technology on that one. Right. So anyway, we met, and what's really interesting about that is that we. You ever hear? You've heard of the what is it? The 6 something of Kevin Bacon. What is it called?
Oh, the 6 degrees.
6 degrees of separation. Yeah, with Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
So Dawn and I were already connected, but we didn't know it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at that time, I was training alongside Matt Mendenhall and his intense training partner.
That was a beat. That was a beat.
And it was true. Oh, he was great. And as much as I don't want to say this egotistically from him that he took over the gym, but when he was in there, he was doing business, and he was there to train. But at the same time, he didn't let anybody out, and he always brought us in, a couple workout tips. And,
good guy.
It's just truly a huge heart.
Yeah, great guy.
And so we kind of developed a friendship just at the gym. And he was telling me about, a supplement company that he was starting. And I'm like, you know what? I do graphic design. I can help you create the logo. But unbeknownst to me at that time, because this was all of probably 8 months before I met Tom, he was actually talking about his partner back in New York to start the supplement company, which was Tom.
Yeah.
So it really was cosmic and kind of, a full circle that we were destined to meet.
Yeah. We didn't know we were connected, but we were already connected through that aspect. And it was really, it's fascinating how those things happen. I mean, but when that happens, and this is a lesson for everyone, it's just like, and one of the things that happens a lot, especially as we age, we tend to second guess our intuition. We doubt our ability to make decisions. We're uncertain about our imagination, and it kind of leads us in the wrong direction. When we're kids, we imagine something, we trust our intuition. We like the kid playing on the playground, we go up and play with them. So we've stopped doing that, and for me, it was about really trusting my intuition. That's why it happened so quickly. And I think if we learn to do that, we train ourselves to understand and to listen to the inner self that is not the critic, but rather the inner self that wants success and massive abundance for us, and we listen to that intuition carefully and closely, do your due diligence, of course. I mean, I didn't move out of here just like that. It was just like, okay, I've got this step to do. I've got this step to do. I got to find out where to live. I got to look at the economy. Can I open a gym there? How easy will it be to sell this gym? I mean, I had to do some homework around that, my due diligence. But ultimately, trusting my intuition is what paid off, and has always paid off.
And you can look at that. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You can look at that too as like whatever decision that you make it the right decision.
Yeah.
So you follow down this path. It doesn't mean that it couldn't alter along the way should it not work out as you anticipated, but still make that decision correct, find that path, and continue forward.
You know what I find? I find that when we're younger, we'll take the risk. We'll roll the dice. We'll go and do these things on the dime and go and say, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to head here, go here. I'm going to join the military. Whatever you're going to do, you just get up and do it. As you get older, you start accumulating things, start building your life. So as you get older, that fear comes in, like, if I take this risk, I can lose this. When you have nothing to lose, then you have all to gain. When you have a lot to lose, you have a lot to lose. Period. The end. So the risk and the reward factor come into play. I think that's part of the mental thing,
I think you're absolutely right of it, and I think a lot of it is the mental aspect of it, because, for me, again, I can only use myself as an example. My experience was I had built a life in Long Island. I mean, I was.
Well, let's get that right. Long Island. Okay.
Long Island. I mean, I had two very successful gyms. Had a TV show that just like, hey, I don't know if I can reproduce this stuff back in Colorado, So there was a lot to lose, but you hit on a good point. When we're younger, and I was in my early 30s then, we're willing to take those risks because we feel like there's enough time that if we can rebuild it, and if we did it once, we could do it again. You know what I mean? So there's a lot to lose, but we don't measure it. The scale is different. It's just like, okay, I've got all this. I could lose it all. But I got plenty of time to rebuild it again. The older we get, it's just like, hey, we got less time, and we tend to get comfortable,
Complacent.
We get more comfortable in our lives. And complacent.
Yeah.
We don't want to take those risks. We could rebuild again. We could start again. And I think this is happening. A lot of people right now with COVID and the pandemic. And
this is a pivotal year. 2020 dished out everything to everybody and still dishing stuff out. Still coming at us, and it's like it's like you're in a fight. You're getting punched so many times. You're like, just keep punching me. I don't feel anything right now. But what it did, it left an indelible mark on us as a society. Yeah. So now people are changing. They're forced to change. They think that this is the new normal. This is the new normal for now. Later on, I'm going to say probably in a year, there's going to be a mash of this and what we knew, and that's going to be our lives. Like this, like we're here doing this, video podcast. We're doing this now. When last time you came on the show, we couldn't do this. We're doing it now.
Right. Not with this technology.
Exactly. We're doing it now. And we're streaming live and doing all this other stuff, and it's great. So there's going to be a lot of change. Technology is going to be at the forefront, and I think people, need to adjust. I think that adjustment is going to be problematic for some people.
But I agree with that. I mean, when you really look at it, and I'm going to butcher this quote, but I think I'm doing it intentionally, is that the adversity is the mother of invention. And I know that's not the real quote, but when you look at whether it would be, look what happened with World War I into World War II and all the new technology that came out of that because of what was needed for that time change. And the same thing that we're going to see here. I mean, there's really some a big impact on our lives right now that's going to create new avenues. And it's really a true opportunity right now. Sure, it might beat you down at the moment, but if you could rise up and realize, I have to do things differently, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And that's important. Good, Tom. I interrupted you.
No, I'm not. You've got so much to say. And listen, by the way,
I don't want you to slap me through the computer. And that.
Hey, do the right thing. As long as you're not on the other side of a foosball table, you won't get smacked. Don't worry.
There we go. But what were you going to say, Tom? Go ahead.
I was going to say, number one, I want to congratulate you on what you're doing in terms of being part of that process. Revolutionizing technology, taking a look at what's happening out there, even though things are, we've gotten comfortable with certain ways of streaming information and videos and podcasting, but they may not be the best. They may not be what we want ultimately. So let's reinvent. Let's create something new. Let's follow a new path in many respects. And you're doing that with much of what you're doing. You're not just a podcaster. You're an entrepreneur. And that's what it really takes these days.
Through and through. This is all I know. And you have to keep building and growing. And that's how I was raised. That's what I've been doing my whole life. And same with you. You're always, you went from one extreme to the next. You reinvent yourself. You come across your life partner. That makes everything better, stronger. Now you can do all the things that you ever wanted to do. You can actually do it fearlessly because you have someone that has your six, they're by your side. You're going through life together, and that's why I wanted the both of you on the show because this is important. People may think, oh, you got Tom Terwilliger on the show. You're going to talk about bodybuilding? No, I talk about bodybuilding with Mike O'Hearn or whoever else I'm talking bodybuilding with. Okay, I lived this life, and the more important story is not what you did, is what you're doing. Where you came from is important. Mr. America, this and that. Yeah, pat you on the back. What are you doing now? How are you changing yourself? Because too many people, they hang on to what they did 30 years ago, and that is all they got. That's all they got. Okay? You're doing and you're changing, you're evolving, you're changing lives, the both of you. And I dig that because people need to hear this stuff.
I appreciate that.
You got your book in the background, and the bottom line is you're doing stuff from training, from motivational, from everything that you're doing is to help people better themselves.
Well, I think that's the primary motivation, and it is interesting because I do a lot of coaching with individuals and entrepreneurs, and I work with one particular individual, and this is actually across the board. But the one example I'll give you is a gentleman that I work with who has expressed that what he's doing in terms of creating content, his presence, building a platform online, is really all about serving others. It's all about helping others and supporting others and helping ultimately create transformation. And I'd love to say that's really what I see from a coach's perspective as his motivation, but it's not. So I had to ask the tough question. I said, are you truly, I want you to really dig deep on this. Are you truly doing this to serve others, or is it to serve your ego and the rewards that come with that per se? So let's just say, I rephrase it. I said, what if you never get the house? What if you never get the pat on the back? What if you never get the recognition? But in your heart of heart, in your soul, you're serving. You're changing lives. You're transforming lives. Would that be enough? The answer had to be no for him. And I think it would be no for most people as well. And for me as well, I want to have a nice home. I want to have a nice car. I want my wife to have the things that she wants. And I do believe that we should all be rewarded for our ability to help and support
There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with reaping the rewards of what you do.
Absolutely.
You reap what you sow. In this life, people, and it's just funny how people talk a lot of nonsense. They want to do a certain thing. They don't care if they make money or not. You're full of crap. Of course you care if you make money, because without money you can't do what you're doing. You need the money to go fund the good things you're doing. You need the money to do that. That's the reality. That's why you have nonprofits. They get donations. Where do they get donations from? From people that have the money. But if you are able to build that personal wealth, guess what? Just imagine the good that you can do. And
absolutely. Even if it is just supporting a nonprofit in some way, you at least have that capability.
Right. I mean, it's actually, used in the right hands. Money is a great multiplier.
Sure.
Even in the wrong hands,
it's
a great multiplier.
Yeah.
But if you're able to acquire that wealth and you do have the heart of hearts and genuinely want to serve, you're going to do so exponentially.
Yeah. And the reason I asked him that question, it was a discovery question. Mm-hmm. It didn't have any pertinence in terms of my coaching or what he's doing, but it was a discovery question. I wanted him to understand, but most importantly, I wanted him to understand the true motivation behind it. Mm-hmm. Because ultimately, listen, for many, those rewards will manifest. For some, they won't. And for those that won't, does that mean they're failures? Does that mean they haven't succeeded? Does that mean maybe they're not living the abundance in their life that they want? Maybe not reaching as many people, but they should still feel good that they were doing something that served others.
Well, success levels are relative, though. It all depends on what it means to you. I've seen people successful with their families. They've done well. They live a simple life, but they're happy. That's their success. That's fantastic. Other people, you need more. You need more. I need more. That's how we're built. But you get more, but you do more. You get more and you do more. Some people are content with what they have, and there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you've tried to do and achieve something, as opposed to being one of these people that embrace mediocrity and say, "Oh, come give me a hug, sleep with me at night because I want to do nothing with my life." And you have a lot of people that are like that.
It's unfortunate, but I think we're seeing a percentage. I don't want to say a large percentage, but certainly a percentage of our society that. And again, I don't want to point the finger at millennials by any means, but I think they're part of the symptom in that respect of, it's sort of like if you're, as a child, if you're always given rewards.
You're not tested. You're not truly tested on your own merit.
Participation trophy.
Yes.
I had this whole conversation with with Jason Cameron. Okay, from HDTV. We had the same conversation yesterday about the participation trophy, and it was like, I don't understand it. You can't reward for not achieving, because how do you have that fight inside of you? How are you going to succeed when mommy's not there to pay your bills, or you can't live in mommy's basement? How are you going to succeed in life? How are you going to help them if they need it? If you're not strong.
And that's just the opposite of resilience, and your body's listening to that. So, you've got your peers and everybody else around you and that sort of thing. But when you really take that back to, if you're looking at longevity, if you're looking for the right soulmate, if you're looking to do any other success in your life, it really does start in your body. And if you're just given that reward, what are you telling the whole ecosystem that is you?
Right.
You're just saying, this is a little too easy. So it's not going to fight to try to survive that much longer. It needs the hormetics, the little mini stresses to make yourself resilient. That is the essence of and the definition of that word.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have those little fights.
Dawn, you're on the money with that, because at the end of the day, when you're running and you fall down, what do? Instinct is to get up. But if you don't know, if someone says, "No, lay down, take a rest, go rest," I'll pick you up.
Yeah.
Now you're waiting for someone to pick you up. How does that breed anything? And especially in America, this is the land of opportunity, but the land, it's hard, not easy. It's hard to get to where you need to get to, but at the same time, you need to be taught these things that I call them character traits, because you build up. If you don't build up these character traits, what's that going to say about you? How are you going to be a leader and teach other people? You can't.
No.
That's right.
Yeah. So what I would, and again, listen, I don't know how many individuals that we might be referring to that come into that category, or millennials that watch your show, that listen to your show. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a small percentage. Maybe it is a lot. So we don't want to give up on them, certainly.
No.
How many drinks do you have over there, man? I've seen at least three cups.
No, I got my coffee. See?
Yeah. And you got your brewer's yeast?
No brewer's yeast. Oh my God, I throw up right now. I'll throw up on the show. I got my water, and then if it keeps going on, I got Gatorade over there. I'm all up.
All right, good. I thought I saw 3 different bottles come over.
No, I'm just going back and forth, back and forth. I got to keep up with you. I need caffeine. Okay.
I'm keeping it simple, man. Small, simple, Pellegrino. Hopefully I don't burp. But I wanted to address that because if you're listening right now, and Louis said something important, which is if you've never been taught, how do you? So how do you? Do we just give up? Because we've never been taught. I was picked up by my mom. I was coddled. I was given a trophy for just participating. So is that it? Do I have to just resolve myself to being weak and helpless and fragile the rest of my life? No, absolutely not. But it begins, like it did for me in the outlaw world, recognizing this is not serving me and it's not serving the world. That you have more in you, that you can manifest something more. But you got to begin the training now. It begins with first taking on that realization that, hey, you know what? I'm a little weak. I'm a little fragile. I realize that I got to get a little bit stronger. Where does it begin? Taking on some small task, taking on some small challenge, maybe immersing yourself a little bit more in personal growth and development, where you can start to say, hey, you know what? That makes sense. I need to do those kind of things. I need to start thinking this way. I need to change my mindset around this, and recognizing when you are faced with a challenge, that what your natural instinct might be right now is to back off. Instead, move in. Attempt to achieve it. Even if you fail, so what? This is how you begin to develop that resilience and that strength to become a leader in your own life and then to contribute to society.
But what happens when, and this is, I think about this too, what happens when you want to do this stuff? And for anyone that's listening, that if you fit into this category, there's help. Tom and Dawn can help you. They can take care of you. But what happens when society goes and they sit there and they allow you to be a certain way? And I apologize for my dog because she's barking.
Are you kidding?
That's what she does.
We've got two schnauzers back here. We're just waiting for someone to ring the bell.
Oh, that's okay. It happens.
Chaos. It'll be chaos, man.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's okay. You know what? I had Steve Hess from the Denver Nuggets. He was strength coach for the Denver Nuggets.
Sure.
Yeah, he was on the show. You see, he competes still, this crazy guy. So he just won. He won the Masters. I forget what he's by you. I'm gonna hook you up.
Steve's a riot. Steve and I know each other. I've seen him a couple of times on the court. If you don't know who Steve is, Steve's probably what is he, about 5'4", 5'5", maybe
in that range.
And
we're giving him 5'6". Steve, I love you.
We're giving him 5'6".
We're giving you 5'6".
But he's never been as wide as he is tall.
Yeah.
And when he's on that court with these 6'8", 6'9" players, it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Because it's huge, the difference. Yeah. But he's massive, and he's a great guy.
He's by you somewhere. He has in Denver. He has he's part of a 55,000 square foot facility. Forget the name of it, but no, it's good. You guys should hook up because you can.
Yeah. It's been several years. We should really reach out and connect with him again.
Yeah, you should. He's there. Yeah. He got his pit bulls, and he's home now. He's doing stuff. He's just waiting for you.
I'm waiting for the call, man.
We're gonna let him know. We're gonna let him know.
Yes, I think you asked the question. It's just like, what if we live in a society now that sort of like not only accepts that as our new norm,
but rewards it,
and encourages it in many respects.
Yeah.
And I think we have.
I see you. You getting angry about that, Dawn. You're getting angry about it.
I know. Yeah. Because the thing that is so lost within that, because I can visualize, and I do know some people in that spot, and they do become more complacent and that sort of thing, and yet they still cry and hurt for more. And it's just like, well, if you really do want it, all it really does start with curiosity. Then they come back saying, but I don't know where to start. And really anywhere. Have the curiosity to dive in anywhere, and the paths will lead you to your ultimate goal, regardless of where you start.
Right. Now, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but I think if society rewards that, if we want to be we want to be outstanding, like anything. Listen, in many respects, the playing field has been reduced. It's easier to become good. It's even easier to become great. And to become outstanding is just a couple of notches away. When everyone else is down here accepting mediocrity, all you have to do is take a few extra steps, push yourself a little further, take a couple of risks, and before you know it, you're above the crowd. Next step, until you become outstanding. No different than some of the great quarterbacks in the world.
Sure.
They didn't become the most outstanding quarterbacks because they were willing to be like, hey, you know what? I'm good now. I'm as good as everyone else. No, I want to be better. I want to be the best. And ultimately,
look at Tom Brady. Okay, he was a backup quarterback for the Patriots. He got a lucky break, literally, and then he was able to play. What happened? Was he ever complacent in what he did? No, he kept pushing each and every game. Right now, in our lifetime, he's the greatest quarterback of all time. You can say other quarterbacks are great, like Terry Bradshaw, of course, but no one has 6 rings. He's got 6 rings on his hands. Never in our lifetime will we see this. That's crazy. But what did he do? He could have retired. He said, I'm going to go to Tampa Bay. And what's he doing now? They're winning. He brought Antonio Brown back to life, for Christ's sakes. He did that.
Yeah, I mean, between him and Tony, it's going to be great, man.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because Dawn had mentioned something earlier, and it takes me back to a conversation I had with Peyton Manning. When Peyton first came here, so he was in the same position. He had some injuries, and he left. His team that he'd been with for years came to the Broncos. So I asked him the question. Actually, I wasn't. It was a group of us that were talking with him. And someone asked him the question, how did you know it was the right decision? And he said, and I go back to what Dawn said earlier. He made it. He said,
make it the right decision.
He said, I made it the right decision after I did my due diligence. I did my homework, but I made it the right decision. In other words, what he said was that I don't second guess it. Once the decision is made, that's it. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure there was no other possible decision I could have made that would have been better than this one. You don't second guess it. You don't question yourself. You don't say, well, I could have done this. I should have done that. No. You make it the best possible decision, and you move forward. And that's the kind of resilience. That's what gave him, his final Super Bowl ring, man. It was amazing.
Yeah,
and I love that answer.
That's a great story. Actually, when he won that, when he got that, I mean, honestly, that year, what was happening? The Steelers were in it. A lot of things were going on. Peyton Manning was coming to his retirement, right? That was going to be it for him.
That's right.
And I said, you know what? I can accept a loss to them because of Peyton Manning, because of the person that he is. I can accept that. Hard for me to accept anything else, but that I can accept. Okay.
Absolutely.
But no, great guy. I've heard a lot of great things about him and how he is. And I think that's important. And I think kids, they need to learn this stuff. They need to learn this stuff now, not later.
Yep.
Learn it and also recognize it.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as Tom Brady and his successes right now is really just a result of pure everyday consistency. I mean, yes, he could have stopped. He had multiple opportunities to retire, and yet he says, I'm going to continue. I've got more in me. Yeah. I could rest on my laurels now, but there is more to accomplish.
Sure.
And that curiosity in him, what else can I accomplish? Is it an injury that's going to take me out? Well, no, I'm going to take care of my body to make sure that it remains resilient for as long as I want to play. Yeah. And he's still going for it.
And he's vegan. That's what makes him great. And he's vegan too, on top of everything. Look at him. He's
which is hard.
He's living an American dream. He married a model, got a little model kids. He's a model himself. He's played. I mean, the bottom line is, if you don't have it in you to want more and believe in yourself, it's hard. You look at DJ, The Rock, what he's doing. He could have stopped when he hit a certain point, but he treats it like, hey, it's always day one. Keep putting in the work. Be the hardest work in the room. Always, you have to put it in, because if you don't do that, you will fall off, because there's someone always, Tom, you know this, always someone looking up, down, looking up at you, waiting for you to slip so they can go right past you and take your spot.
Chasing you from behind. They see your back and they're reaching for what you have.
Remember that?
Before you know it, they're going to surpass you.
Yeah,
You don't want that to happen.
Sure. Remember that scene in Pumping Iron? I go way back now. Pumping Iron with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's laying on the beach with his compadres, and all the other bodybuilders. And he's talking about it. Somebody says, hey, look, Ferrigno's come up. He's in New York. He's training hard. He's getting huge. He's hungry. He goes, yes, but I'm the wolf at the top of the mountain, and I'm hungry too. And he says, yeah, but the wolf at the bottom of the mountain, the one that's coming up, is even hungrier.
Sure.
And that's so true. And you've got to be able to fight and be willing to fight. Yeah. But you mentioned something, and again, I want to listen. I want to reach out to those who may struggle with this idea. That I don't have it in me. It's just like, it's not hard. It's not. I'm not that kind of hungry guy. I'm not that kind of. And listen, maybe I believe every one of us has a greater level of ambition based on the fact that we've all got magnificence. I think we all have some talent, some magnificence, some way to serve the world, better ourselves, better our circumstances.
Right.
But if you don't feel that compelled to pursue that, the one thing I would encourage you to do, and this was important, this was an experience I had when I was making the decision to leave the outlaw bike community, you might say. I'm hesitant to call it a club, but the community. There was only one person that really supported me, and I'll never forget it. It was one of my best friends coming up in high school. Great guy, I always loved the guy. And when I said, listen, I'm thinking about leaving, I'm pulling out, he says, it's about freaking time. He goes, you're better than this. You've got more in you than this. Get out, do what you got to do, and explore what you need to explore, because you're better than this, man. Now, so the reason I bring that up is because let's just say you feel like, hey, you know what, I'm not that guy, and I just don't feel that ambitious. I get up in the morning, it's just like, I'm happy with what I got. I'm more than satisfied. But what happens a lot of times is if you're not feeling ambitious yourself, you're not pursuing some goals, some objectives, feeling good about what you're after, a lot of times we take other people down. We discourage them. Your friend might be, hey, I'm working on this new app, or I'm creating this coaching program, or I'm doing video. Come on, man. What do you expect to happen from that? What's going to come of that? You think you're going to make any money with that? You're never going to make it. You're never going to make it. Remember the last time? You failed big time. Don't be that guy. Because you're not pursuing something. Don't be the guy that says, hey, you know what? I bet you can do this. I bet you've got more in you. I know you can do this. Let's do it, man. Yeah. Encourage your friends. Encourage your family to be more, to do more. And you know what? You're going to get inspired by that along the way as well. And maybe find the courage to pursue something else yourself.
I think a lot of people that when they act like that towards someone, it's their own fear. And you know, they're like, well, I didn't have the stones to go after this, so why should you? And you're not going to make it happen because I failed. They're just like radiating this level of, hey, I didn't get there, and you're not going to get there either, because they don't know. When you make it to the top, and you may fall down halfway, you know you can always go back up. You've been there. Yeah. You know, you've been there. You know how the path is. You can make it happen. When you haven't been there, that's the abyss. You don't know what's there. It's the unknown. Oh my God, I don't know what's there. It can be the greatest thing. It could be the worst thing. You don't know. But if you don't roll the dice, you don't.
And you'll never know. You'll never know until you try.
Yeah.
And this is something, you know, when this pandemic thing started to really take off, you know, what was it, August last year? March? Was it March, right?
I guess it was
March of this year.
March.
The shutdown began, and it was just like, hey, you know what? We saw a lot of people suffering. We were suffering. Much of our corporate coaching business went away or was put on hold. This was the idea. We're putting everything on hold right now because everything's kind of this, and we're sending people home. So we're going to get back. 70% of our business went away. And so there's this little natural inkling of fear and doubt, like everyone was experiencing, started to kick in. And then we recognized that. And we had to make a decision. We had to make an empowering decision at that moment. Hey, you know what? We lost a lot of our income. Maybe we'll lose our business. Maybe we'll lose our home. But you know what? It's not going to beat us. It's not going to take us down. We're going to find a way to thrive through this. And so that decision, along with some other things that kind of piggybacked off of that, we said to ourselves, Dawn and I, well, what can we do right now? Let's forget about serving ourselves. What can we do to serve others that are in an even worse position right now? So what we decided at the very beginning, it took me about 2 months to do it, was we're going to write a book. We're going to create something, a guide, you might say, for others. And it turned into what's called the 7-step comeback plan, or we call it just the comeback plan. And it's a guide, it's a book, but it's really more a guide that, hey, this is the step-by-step process that anyone can use, whether you're trying to rebuild your business, your body, your life, your relationship, your finances, whatever it might be. Hey, if you're trying to rebuild a 56 Chevy in your garage, you can use the same damn plan.
Right.
It's a process. This is the first step. And that first step, by the way, is the empowering decision.
Yep.
Because if you've been suffering, you know, through this COVID thing, and you've lost your job or your business went under, you owned a restaurant and that's gone.
Yeah.
You know, where do we begin? It begins with that decision, and then ultimately that plan starts to manifest. And as you're going through that planning process, you begin to come up with ideas. You begin to think more ambitiously. You come out of focusing on the negative. We're so focused on the friggin' negative today that if we don't have a plan to pull us in the other direction and move us towards something better than suffering over here with the rest of society, then that's what we're going to continue to do, just suffer.
Yeah.
So we created that book, and I tell you what, we We gave it away for the first several months. With thousands of downloads. That ultimately turned into what we call the Comeback Summit. In the summit, we had 22 incredible people on sharing their stories about their comebacks, their personal comebacks, their personal challenges and setbacks, and ultimately how they, with their mindset and the different tools and rules, found a way to come back. So it's been that served us.
You guys wrote this together, right?
Yeah.
We did. Yeah. And so you can check it out at thecomebackplan.com. You can even check out, we're still offering the summit?
Well, what we'll do is, by the way, we're going to check it out. We started selling it after we gave away thousands for $47. And we still sold literally hundreds and hundreds. For your listeners, I want you guys to have this. I want everyone, as many people as possible, to have this comeback plan. So just go to thecomebackplan.com, thecomebackplan.com, sign up, register, and boom, the book is going to be sent to you in your email. You'll have it. It's all digital. And then what we've done, we'll give you access to some of, probably not all, but some of the interviews, some of the most powerful interviews during the summit, which some of them were unbelievable. I mean,
this was a virtual summit you did?
Yes.
Virtual summit that we did.
Well, the next one you have to do here, I think.
I
think we need to hook you up. Yeah.
Live. You got in on this platform.
Yes.
Would be fantastic.
Yep, because we have, and we'll talk after the show. I'll give you the skinny. I don't want to take away from what you guys are talking about right now. And actually, what I want to do, I want to ask you a question. And when I ask you this question, just realize I'm going to put you. I'm taking myself out of the screen. I'm putting you on the screen, just you two, and advice. If with the pandemic and everything that's going on right now, someone that's dealing with struggles and everything, that is looking for something to grasp onto, something to help them to get through this, what advice would you give them? And I want to hear from both of you. Now I'm going to put you on the big screen by yourself. You're not going to see it, but trust me, it'll be there.
Well, you know what? I would start off with by saying that, you know, if you really are looking to make a change, and I've already said this in the conversation, you really need to start with yourself. And that might be a daunting task, but what to look at. But, I mean, if you're feeling, you know, anxiety, anxious, not knowing really where to turn, considering the process that's happening within your body. And could you need more, a new spike in dopamine? Are you getting plenty of serotonin? And that really all starts within the gut. How are you treating yourself is really a reflection of also how you're treating your outside environment. So if you're eating poorly, if you're not getting proper sleep, if, you know, you're just, you know, not exercising. I mean, all of these things are truly important to take care of yourself for you to nurture others. Yeah. So that would be basically my number one step is look at the place of where you live first and clean it up.
Yeah. And Dawn brings up a good point. Listen, if you're looking and you've been struggling and you're challenged right now, you've got to begin honoring your body. Your body is the thing that's going to support you through this more than almost anything else. It might be your finances that are suffering. It might be something else. But take my word for it. If your body, if you're not respecting it, if you're not creating rapport with your body, it will not serve you, you will not trust it, and it's going to be hard to take that leap of faith forward. Now, from a mindset perspective, if you really, truly want to get out of this hole that we tend to dig for ourselves, mentally, emotionally, the first thing you must do is make an empowering decision. We made an empowering decision when all this started to happen and we started to lose business and we were suffering a little bit financially. That empowering decision was, this will not break us. And once you make that decision, or whatever decision you decide, then it's about creating a big picture. Right now, we're narrow vision, honed in, focused in
on fear,
the problem,
the uncertainty,
doubts, right? Think about it. That's where our mind goes. That's why you're losing sleep. That's what's keeping you awake at night. Create a bigger picture. Know that in 6 months, a year from now, things can be different. Maybe it's not as specific a goal as I would have encouraged you to do a year or two ago. Forget that specific goal for the moment. Make it a big picture. You will have a good paying job. You will have insurance. You'll have a nice home. Whatever that big picture might be for you. And then begin to know where you are right now and what the next step might be.
And knowing where you are and being honest with what that is. I mean, if you're just like, well, I'm kind of, here, I'm doing okay, but let's really take a look at your finances. Let's take a look at your health and be specifically honest on those certain topics.
Yeah.
That is really it's a brutal honesty is the tough part to conquer.
Yeah, the more doubts and fears because of the unknown you have, the harder it is to combat those negative emotions. So take control of those different things, create an empowering decision, create a big picture, and then go in and create a plan, beginning with honoring your body, eating healthy, drinking more water, back off on the alcohol. I know we've all been drinking more alcohol. In Colorado, people are smoking weed like it's going out of style. Back off on some of those things and start to take control of your body and honor your body and allow it to move you towards what you can manifest, which is greatness.
And once you can get through the honesty, the brutal honesty of knowing where you are, then you've got to make a list of all your resources. That could be friends. That could be the tools that you have as far as your education. That could be the support groups that you have around you.
That could be your own past experience. Sometimes going back and remembering what you've been through. My God, that's right. I did that. I achieved that. I got over that. I overcome. Whatever those challenges were in your past, those become internal resources along with friends, finances, whatever it might be that you need to continue to move forward. Now, we can go down the entire list, but all you have to do is download it. Comebackplan.com, comebackplan.com, and get started on that plan and honoring your physiology. That will get you out of that fear, doubt, uncertainty that you've been suffering from, and that's only going to keep you trapped longer.
And there you have it, folks. You heard it from Tom and Dawn Terwilliger, and I want to thank you guys for coming on the show. This is great. Check out Tom, check out Dawn, see what they're doing. Come back. Well, what's the website again, Tom?
TheComebackPlan.com.
TheComebackPlan.com. Check it out.
Download it for free.
Yeah, you download it free. Do what you got to do there. Okay, I'm gonna tweet this out. I'm gonna do this stuff, and I think more people should know about it because of what you guys are doing. But you guys stick with me, and for your viewers and for the viewers and listeners that faithfully tune in to our show, I thank you again, and make sure to tune in for the next episode of the UCW Radio Show. Hang on, guys.
Initiating shutdown sequence.
You're listening to UCW Radio in your face.
What is your major malfunction?
So let it be written. So let it be done.
Ladies and gentlemen, my mother thanks you, my father thanks you, my sister thanks you, and I thank you.